Hello, friends. Pastor Jenny here. I love to talk to the camera because it's a great opportunity to use it as a mirror. All right, you guys. So one of you guys asked me to tackle under this study of the Handmaid, to tackle those partnerships, that handmaid walking next to the handmaid. And when you guys mentioned that maybe they were using a passage from the book of Amos, I think you pronounce it in English. By the way, my first language is Spanish, so thank you for bearing with me when I mispronounce a word and my accent. I really appreciate that. So when one of you said that they were basing it on the book of Amos, I was like, I don't remember that passage. The passage that came to mind was the one in Ecclesiastes 4:9 that says, two are better than one because they have good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. But then I went to Amos and I almost read the whole book and I found it. I found that Amos 3:3 say, do two walk together unless they have agreed to do so? And then a different translation says, the Message says, do two walk together if they aren't going to the same place? And I was laughing about this because it is very likely in the sick mentality of the Gilead's founders that they are justifying having people spy on each other, most likely just as they have tried to justify every other aberration and mistreatment of people on the Bible. They probably try to justify having a handmaid walking next to the other one so that they can so that one can spy on the other one, and so maybe they have justified that on the Bible too, and maybe they are using passages like Amos 3:3 and Ecclesiastes 4:9 to justify that. But the amazing thing is that the institution of partnership in the Bible through these 2 passages has to do with people being together so that when one is weak, the other one will lift them up. When one is sick, the other one will be there for that person, that they will be in agreement in a variety of things. It is absolutely away from the concept of I spy on you, you spy on me, I'll watch my back because you may stab me if I turn around. And as we noticed in the last episodes, that is exactly what has been happening between Natalie, which is the real name of Matthew, and June. Natalie betrayed June first, telling on Lydia about the Martha and how June was trying to see her daughter. And then later, June betrays Natalie by basically influencing the rest of the group to berate her and to mistreat her. And June even goes as far as telling Aunt Lydia and the girls something that Natalie told her in a moment of extreme weakness, which was, I'm having bad thoughts about this pregnancy. And so, they both gave each other, they both betrayed each other. It's very sad, right? But then we have other partnerships like prior in the series, like Emily and June, and that introduced June to the concept of the resistance, which has disappeared completely from the handmaids. Something that I've noticed in this show, and that I don't know if you guys have noticed, is that they introduce elements and they never touch them again or leave them untouched for the longest time. I think of Commander Lawrence, who we had so many expectations about him and his character and discovering who he was, but if he says 1 or 2 lines per episode is one too many. I think of Christopher Maloney, whatever his name is in this series, and we all of us that have watched SVU, we're very excited about him coming, but then he's gone. We don't know what's going on. I mean, it's like They just introduced this, and the resistance. Where is the resistance? Where have they gone? What's happening? I mean, June was introduced to the resistance by Emily, and then when she came to Commander Lawrence's house, she even chose 5 people at his bequest. But she said at the end of that episode that she had chosen 5 people for the resistance. But our heroine June is so bogged down by her own personal problems, by her own personal tragedy, that she cannot see her daughter, that her daughter has now been moved to a location that she has no idea, and that she might have lost her forever, that she's having a hard time focusing on anybody but herself. And we know that in order to be an effective leader of the resistance, June needs to think beyond June. She needs to think about the Emilys, the Natalies, and all that stuff. I wanted to say before I move forward that I noticed in the sneak preview of the next episode that Natalie is not dead. I think she's in a coma or some other type of unconsciousness, and June is going to stay there, as Ecclesiastes says, next to her until that baby is born. That is what Aunt Lydia is saying in that clip. And so I hope that as June is next to her bed, she starts seeing Natalie for what she is, another victim. Not that we applaud what she did at all, but she is definitely another victim, and she's choosing to deal with her pain in a very counterproductive way. I think that she could have stayed quiet. She could have pretended to spy on June without really giving all that information to Aunt Lydia. It is possible that she had no idea of the repercussions that being that honest would have. We know that the show has been very inconsistent in how they discipline the handmaids, right? I mean, here's the handmaid being hung because she was going to help June see her daughter, but June just confessed, and Aunt Lydia and all the handmaids know publicly that she was the one who sought the Martha out to see her daughter. And in prior episodes, Mrs. Mackenzie told June, please stop doing this. You're going to end up on the wall. And so the show seems to indicate that there would have been a harshest penalty for what June did, but June's not receiving that penalty. And so it is just, I think the show is struggling a little bit. It is fighting so hard to make June this all-powerful heroine and leader that is almost seems as if June was not part of the Gilead that we've been introduced to for the last 2 seasons. And so I think the show needs to be very careful in ensuring that in their zest for making June this heroine, that they don't pull her completely out of the reality of the Gilead that we have been introduced. So I mean, the whole purpose of this video originally was to talk about that partnership, but I wanted to bring up something else, which is why I titled this not necessarily just partnerships. I wanted to talk a little bit about oppression, okay? Because if the people of Gilead are basing their oppression on the Bible, they chose the wrong book. And I had to read the whole book of Amos again to find that Amos 3:3 that spoke about partnership. And in so doing, I found some information about the book of Amos that talks directly to Gilead. Amos was not even a regular prophet. He was not a part of the religious class. He was a gardener, that he grew like fig trees or something like that. And God used him, a very humble man, to talk against the most powerful elite in the people of Israel. A lot of the prophecy books talk about redemption and restoration, but Amos devotes only the final 5 verses of his prophecy for such consolation. Everything else in that book is directed against the privileged people, people who had no love for their neighbor, who took advantage of others, and who only look out for their own concerns. Does this sound familiar? Yes, it sounds like Gilead, right? It sounds like the religious slash leadership class in Gilead that only bothers about themselves and oppresses others to pull themselves up. The book of Amos is probably one of the books that talks a lot about God's people being accountable for how they treat others. And it repeatedly points out the failure of the people to fully embrace God's idea of justice. They were selling off needy people for goods. They were taking advantage of the helpless. They were oppressing the poor. The men were using women immorally. They were so intent in their own economic success and improving their own position that they had lost the concept of caring for one another. And Amos is constantly rebuking them for that. And I pulled some passages that are for Gilead. They were for the people of Israel, but I thought it would be fun to talk about them, to read them thinking about Gilead. I pulled them because they were so good. And tell me if you don't think this is talking directly to the Waterfords, the Onblidias, the Mackenzies, everybody that we've met in Gilead in a position of power and that are using the word of God to justify what they're doing. Check this out. I'm not going to give you the exact quotations, but I'm like on Amos 8. I pulled some verses from there. Amos 5, Amos 6. And Amos 8. Yeah. So here we go. Listen to this. You people of Gilead who rob the poor and trample down the needy. You can't wait for the day of rest to be over and the religious festivals to end so you can get back to cheating the cheating, cheating the helpless. I have problems pronouncing CH and SH. You measure out grain with dishonest measures and cheat the buyer with dishonest scales. It says you enslave poor people for one piece of silver or a pair of sandals. Gilead, you enslave people so that they can have kids for you, and you enslave people so that you can have domestic martas, domestic helpers that you don't pay them for, right? And now the Lord has sworn this. I will never forget the wicked things you have done. Hello, Gilead. The earth will tremble for your deeds and everyone will mourn. Seek God and know evil. Seek God. You talk about God, the God of angel armies being your best friend. Live like it. Gilead, live like it. Stop saying, blessed be the fruit, may the Lord open under his eye, because if you truly believed you were under the eye of God, you would, like the book of Amos says, live like it. Check out what God says through Amos. I can't stand your religious meetings. I'm fed up with your conferences and conventions. I want nothing to do with your religious projects, your pretentious slogans and goals. Blessed be the fruit under his eye, right? God was saying, I want nothing to do with your religious projects, your pretentious slogans and goals. I am sick of your fundraising schemes, your public relations and image making. That whole scene in the Capitol, praying, right? I've had all I can take of your noisy ego music. When was the last time you sang to me? Do you know what I want? Ask God. I want justice, oceans of it. I want fairness, rivers of it. That's what I want. That's all I want. And it says, woe to those who live in luxury and expect everyone else to serve them. Woe to those who live only for today, indifferent to the fate of others. Woe to the playboys, the playgirls who think life is a party held just for them. Woe to those addicted to feeling good, life without pain. To those obsessed with looking good, life without wrinkles. They could not care less about their country going to ruin, and yet you've made a shamble of justice, a bloated corpse of righteousness, bragging of your trivial pursuits, beating up on the weak and crowing Look what I've done. Listen to these you who walk all over the weak. Listen to these people of Gilead that are oppressing the poor. You who treat poor people as less than nothing, who say, when's my next paycheck coming so I can go out and live it up? How long till the weekend when I can go out and have a good time? You who give little and take much and never do an honest day's of work. You who exploit the poor, using them, and then when they're used up, you discard them. You hang them, right? You give them, you discard them as disposable property. God swears against you. I am keeping track of your very last sin. My oath will shake the foundations and dissolve your world into tears. My oath will sweep in like a river that rises, flooding houses and land, and then recedes. Watch out. Judgment Day is coming. Think about that. That is God's true position against injustice. That is God's true position against people that use others and put them in servitude, no matter the reason. You know, when we are unable to have kids, God expects us to pray to Him so that He can provide kids for us, so that He can open our wombs or lead us to someone that we can adopt the baby from. God's idea of providing for our kids or providing for our needs, any of our needs, is definitely not putting people in servitude as the people of Gilead have done. So in talking about a handmaid walking next to another handmaid, I have also touched on the subject of justice in the Bible, and the whole Bible is full with this, but I chose just one book and one book alone, and check out all the amazing treasures that he found on how God deals with unrighteousness, with unfairness, and with people that are very religious in word and in appearance, but that mistreat others. We can fool others, but we cannot fool God, and the people in Gilead are only fooling themselves. Well, I can't wait to talk to you guys again. The next time I record this, I am going to make a study that studies specifically the positions to which a woman in Gilead is limited. A handmaid, a Martha, a Jezebel, an aunt. I know that I'm leaving one of them behind, but I'm going to write them down. I'm going to have an analysis about that. Because June, I think, made that comment in not this last episode, but the one before it. And I really liked it. I'm like, that would be really cool, because all those names are also taken out of the Bible. And wouldn't it be neat if we could go over the real stories and the real situations under which these names were used in the original text of the Bible? And once again, prove that Gilead is anything but people that follow and that love God, and that the whole system of that government is corrupt and has nothing to do with the Bible and with the God of the Bible. If you like this, I hope that this met the expectations of those who asked me to talk about this. If you like this, please share with somebody else. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit on that bell so that you can receive notifications when I post something. I'm doing The Handmaid's Tale, but I also do something called Ramblings, Pastor Jenny's Ramblings. And as you can see, I'm really, really good at rambling. I look forward to connecting with you guys very, very soon on my next commentary about The Handmaid's Tale, as it refers to the series At the Light of the Word of God. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to connecting with you guys very, very soon. It's Friday. I'm going to drive home. Everybody have a great weekend. Bye.